Shallow fishing is a deadly tactic this time of the year, especially with casters. F1s and carp absolutely love them. So today I'm here at Decoy on the Decoy Lake, renowned for its massive weights, and I'm going to show you how to put a big weight together on caster shallow. Here at Decoy you can only have an 8-inch minimum depth you can fish and 8-inch lash. So I'd start off at an 8-inch deep, and then I got every 4 inches. So 8, 12, 16, 20, like you ain't gonna catch any deeper than 20 inch today. The fish are up in the high layers of the water. So anything above 16 inch, I'd fish a F1 shallow float, just a little diamond float. It's a little bit more longer than a dibber, so it's a little bit more stable and you can read it a lot better. Moving down to my dibbers, anything from like 12 inch to like 16 inch, I use a 0.2, and then for my 8-inch one, I use a 0.1. So moving on to my line, which I use 018 tournament rig line as my main line. It's robust, you want something strong. Obviously you're hooking carp in here, you don't want anything less than that. Obviously your line's rubbing against your net, and also you want it to be strong. And now moving down to my hook length line, I'm using 014 tournament rig line, which is it's a strong line as well. It's not too light, it can handle a carp. And then moving down to my hook, I use a 16 SLWG. It's a fairly big hook for fishing casters, but the fish are that confident this time of the year, it's just perfect. Moving down to now my bait band, use the ends-on bait bands, the medium ones. They're absolutely perfect for fishing with casters because they're just big enough just for the point of the caster just to push into the band, so you don't have to use any baiting tools, which saves on time, which is massive because when you're fishing for a big weight, you don't want to be wasting any time. You want to be in and out as fast as you can, but obviously in a rhythm you don't want to be too fast because otherwise you'll just end up with tangles and in a mess. But also with the bait band as well, like I have a real fine mesh net, which is what you want when you're fishing casters, because you can catch like 5 or 6 fish on the same caster, as long as obviously it don't crush, or sometimes the fish flap about in the landing net and then it's just what happens, the caster just busts. But 9 times out of 10 you can get like 5 or 6 fish on one caster, which that's another time saving thing. So now moving on to me elastic, I use either white or grey hydro this time of the year for when I'm fishing shallow with casters. Here at Decoy I'm fishing white today, and maybe grey as well. Like probably use white on my 8-inch and 12-inch depths, and then on my 16 and 20-inch I'll probably use grey, because when you're fishing with white hydro on your shallowest rigs, it makes less commotion and they can just swim out your peg nicely without making too much disturbance. And I'm moving on to my top kit. I'm using a F1 speed kit, which is a short length of elastic, which is faster, powers up a lot faster, and when you're fishing for a big weight, obviously you need to get the fish in as fast as you can. Obviously you don't want to be losing them, but obviously you want something that's nice and soft, and as soon as you give it a couple of strips on the puller kit, it's in the net. Also with the F1 speed kits, I've got my carrier kit, my short kit cases, so after the match or before the start of the match, saves a lot of time as well. All my top kits are already made up with my shallow rigs on, so I haven't even got to get to the bank. All I've got to do is get them straight out my tubes and literally put them straight on my side tray, and probably change the hook length from last time, and I'm fishing straight away. So it doesn't take long to set up at all. So choosing the distance is a main thing of how far you fish out when you're fishing casters. You don't want to be fishing too far where your bait's going to go everywhere. You want to be fishing short, I usually go between 6 and 8 metres, somewhere comfortably where you can feed it. You want to be feeding your bait nice and tight so that you're fishing within your casters. Sometimes you catch like in and around your casters, like when carp and that come into your peg, because when you're fishing casters they come real shallow. So at least when you're fishing short, you can read your peg a lot better of how deep they are and when you need to be changing depths and that sort of thing, because that's massive. You don't want to be fishing 8-inch deep if the fish are 12-inch deep, so you've got to keep in tune with the fish. And also when you're fishing short, you're a lot more fast and efficient. Obviously there's times where the fish don't want to come close, like with casters. If you've got a ripple, you usually catch a lot better. When it's flat calm, it's real finicky, takes longer to get bites, but when you've got a ripple on it, they're a lot more confident. So shorter your fish, the better. Obviously, sometimes when you've not got a ripple, you need to go further to get bites. But if you can fish shorter, the bigger weight you're going to put together. Moving on to the feeding. Usually when I'm fishing casters, when I'm priming my line, I usually feed a lot of bait. Half a pouch full of casters every like 45 seconds, just to like keep bait going in, to draw the fish up into the upper layers. So when you're fishing casters, like when you're slapping your rig over, turning it over, when you feed your casters. Also, another trick is like sometimes slapping doesn't work. Like I've had it on a few days, like where slapping your rig over doesn't work at all. The best thing to do is just like lift and drop. It's like lift and drop, and then you get a bite. So sometimes they want it when it's slapping, sometimes they want it where you just lift and drop, and sometimes you just got to work out on the day which is best. Also, another key thing about shallow fishing is your back shot above your rig. You want your line, because here it's 8-inch last limit here, so obviously if you didn't have any back shot on the back of your rig on the line, it just creates a bow. You can't keep everything tight. So if you put I just use 2 number 8 back shot on my 8-inch lash, probably one about 3 inches away from the top of my float and one about 2 inches above that. So when you drop your rig in, you slap it over, you hold your line tight. 9 times out of 10, you don't even strike at bites. The back shot acts as to keep it all tight. You hold it tight to your float, and your elastic just pulls out. Because otherwise, you can miss so many bites trying to strike, and that you're better off just waiting and holding it all tight, and then your elastic just pulls out. You never even have to strike. So when I arrived here at Decoy this morning, you could see that the fish was in the upper layers of the water. It didn't take long once I started feeding my casters before I see them all swirling. Loads of fish within my casters. I've caught mainly at 8-inch deep today. That just shows that the fish, how confidently they were feeding. I've caught massive carp up to like 14 pound, and then some big F1s like 2 or 3 pound, and then also some of the new fish that have been put in here in Willers as well, and some Carasio. So I've had a bit of a mixed bag, and it just goes to show how effective caster shallow can be in these warmer months, and how much of a deadly tactic it is this time of the year to put a massive weight in your keep net.